I kept saying, Lord, please, whatever you need me to do, Jesus, whatever you need me to do, don't take my grandson, please.
Get on the ground!
How easy is it to get a semi-automatic gun?
Easy, just like it is when you go cash your paycheck.
You could come out the door in broad daylight, you can see people shooting across the street back and forth from each other.
Childhood friend of mine was gunned down, murdered, shot 12 times right here, died right here. You can still see his blood in the concrete.
The first one came in, so like this, pointing like, get down. Then the rest of them came in, boom, boom, boom.
It was like somebody literally ripped my heart out. They didn't just take his life, they took mine too.
Things are just out of control.
Some of the deadliest neighborhoods in the country are right here in the St. Louis area. Tonight, News 4 Investigates goes beyond the headlines and the police crime reports. We dig into the root causes of violent crime and show what's being done about it by investigating a vicious cycle, broken homes, deadly streets, and shattered lives.
We thank you for the life and the legacy of Sister Naya.
Yes, Lord.
Even when you place it
Yes, Lord.
in the hands of God.
God, we ask you that you will meet all of us, bless all of us,
Please,
look
Jesus.
over all of us,
Please, Jesus.
save us,
Please, Jesus.
deliver us.
Please, Jesus.
There is still so much pain.
You shouldn't have to bury your child.
The wounds are deep,
You made me whole. You gave me purpose.
and they may never heal.
I want my son back. I want to hold my son. I want to be able to tell him I love him. And I know I can't have that ever.
The violent crime destroying lives in our community has repeatedly put St. Louis on the list of the most dangerous cities in America.
They killing each other out here for nothing. They act like it's a sport.
Just days before leaving for college on a full scholarship last summer, 18-year-old honor student Anaya Cook was shot in the face.
For someone to take her life, to shoot her in her face, beautiful young lady, to shoot her in her face, that is the ultimate.
Anaya was sitting with her boyfriend in his car in the Kingsway West neighborhood on the city's north side when gunmen opened fire on the vehicle. Prosecutors say her uninjured boyfriend was the intended target.
It plays in my mind like, what happened that night? Like, did my baby call out for us? Every picture, she's smiling.
Anaya was the only child of Orlando and Rochelle Cook, who spent 3 agonizing days and nights at Barnes Jewish Hospital as Anaya fought for her life.
We had been so beat up and kicked around and pushed around to where when they told us that she had finally passed, it was almost a relief.
It was a relief.
We had been beat so bad.
5 months after Anaya's murder, 36-year-old Brian Seiler was walking his dog on the city's south side in the Dutchtown neighborhood when he was shot in the back of the head.
I just lost it. I just crumbled down to the table and sobbed.
Mary Seiler is Brian's mother. Brian was her only child.
Nobody should have to feel what I'm feeling. Nobody.
Police found Brian's wallet in his pocket. His dog was still attached to the leash on his lifeless arm. That night, just 2 days before Christmas, she was the person who identified her dead son's body.
They pull the curtain back and you see their body there. You can't touch them, you can't hug them, you can't do anything but look.
Sometimes the shootings happen in broad daylight, in a bold, violent barrage that few of us can imagine.
Please, Lord. Please, Lord Jesus.
7 months ago, in the Penrose neighborhood on the city's north side, gunfire erupted outside the home of Terry Burgess.
I heard it. It was so close.
The bullets missed her 4-year-old grandson, who raced to the front door and grabbed hold of her.
He was terrified. He had a look on his face like he was running for his life.
He's 4.
Still outside, Terry's daughter Carolyn and Carolyn's 16-year-old son Pierre.
He just was running straight, and as soon as I got up to him, he fell.
Pierre had been shot in the back. The junior ROTC cadet and athlete who dreamed of being a lawyer died there, surrounded by more than 20 shell casings. He had taken 2 younger cousins to the store for candy bars.
I just wish I wouldn't have never called him to go down the street to the store, because he would never been down there.
It's sad that nobody's surprised when a 16-year-old is gunned down.
I need everybody behind this tape.
Researchers have repeatedly documented that violent crime, especially murder, is far more likely to happen in urban neighborhoods with extreme poverty, low levels of education, high unemployment, low percentages of home ownership, bad schools or closed schools that can add to a feeling of unrest, abandonment, and a lack of accomplishment, and families headed by single parents who move frequently, which creates even more instability. Racial segregation and the feeling by a race of people that they are isolated also plays a role. Nearly all of these neighborhoods in our region are more than 90% African American. The problems get worse when children from violent neighborhoods are vulnerable to attack inside their own schools, places where they should finally feel safe.
You add all that together, and that's the recipe for violent crime in a neighborhood.
Rick Rosenfeld is a criminology professor at the University of Missouri, St. Louis.
Any single factor alone is not the problem. The problem is the degree to which these factors interact. In other words, you find all of them feeding off one another and in the same places.
In our region, we see extraordinary rates of violent crime. East St. Louis and Washington Park have the highest murder rates in the country, more than 20 times the national average. Much of North St. Louis City is also far above the national average. Smaller pockets in South St. Louis and the Jennings area in North St. Louis County also have extremely high rates of homicide. Terrell Golson is also an expert in the study of criminal behavior.
Born and raised in this hood.
He got his education on the streets of one of St. Louis's most violent neighborhoods.
I should have been dead a long time ago.
Terrell is a former member of a North St. Louis gang called the Grape Street Crips.
I wanted to be Billy Badass in my neighborhood.
As a young child living in poverty and surrounded by drugs, Terrell says that when he was 8, he was beaten so badly for so long that St. Louis police kicked down the door of his bedroom and removed him from his home.
My mama despised me. I got to the age where, like 10, I wanted to kill my mother. I literally found a 22 through one of the dope fiends in the neighborhood, wanted to get 2 stones for a 22.
He says a friend stopped him from using that 22 to shoot his mother, but Terrell's anger didn't go away.
This is all I knew.
Despite being removed from the neighborhood and given another chance, he still came back and joined the gang, believing it was his only family.
Well, my mama gave up on me. Why would anybody else want me? I came from my mom.
During his years as a Crip, his rap sheet grew to include more than 40 arrests, including ones for shootings, assaults, armed criminal actions, and even 2 murders. He was eventually convicted of drug-related crimes and sent to prison twice. How easy is it to get a semi-automatic gun?
Easy. Just like it is when you go cash your paycheck.
Just before the boldest shootings in broad daylight, Terrell says some gang members arrive in a convoy of rental cars with tinted windows.
They gonna come, they coming hard. 4, 5 cars, tinted up, dress riding like me and you.
Their targets are usually rival gang members or individuals suspected of being involved in a previous shooting that targeted them. Among gangs, the revenge shootings are perceived as street justice. But it's still wrong.
Wrong is wrong, but you never know what that guy did. Karma is karma, you know what I'm saying? So what you do to somebody don't mean that somebody gonna look the other way, you hear me?
Years ago, he was shot in the back, leaving him with a gruesome injury. The blast ripped through his lower torso, leaving his insides barely contained by a thin wall of flesh. What are we looking at right here?
They say the chest bone they brought down. It's all my intestines right here.
After he was shot, he says the gang members he almost died for weren't there for him, not at the hospital or during his years behind bars.
That ain't got me nowhere, man. My block, Grape Street, ain't did nothing for me, man.
Now he wears any color he wants, even red, the color of his former enemies, the Bloods.
I once was one of y'all, you know what I'm saying? So everybody have a story to tell, and I got a story.
Now Terrell Golson is visiting classrooms with other former gang members as part of a program sponsored by the group Better Family Life. And he has a warning about the risks of being caught in this cycle of violence.
The fast money ain't the way to go, I'm telling y'all, it ain't.
It's one way Terrell is trying to break out of this cycle and make his family proud.
I try to make away from my 4-year-old so he'd never have to see half the his daddy had to go through.
I miss him so much.
Tears are the ties that bind families devastated by violence.
I love you, Brad.
In the graveyards,
I just kept screaming, God, no, God, no, God, no, God, no.
family rooms, and on the streets.
Stop the violence, Lord Jesus,
Yes,
and replace it with love.
Grieving families are praying
We ask and pray. Amen.
Amen, amen.
for a safer St. Louis.
She has touched so many people's lives when she was here and not here that her death won't be in vain. I know it won't.
Up next,
Nigel, how you doing? Craig Cheatham.
the tragedy of one St. Louis family battling overwhelming odds.
He looks up at me and he says, "It's your fault."
Right now, we're in storm mode.
We are following the search for a missing man lost in the Merrimack River near Eureka. This afternoon, we are told that a man fell into the river while on an excursion with some friends.
We'll have more from the scene there in just a moment. But first, a tornado watch just issued for much of the St. Louis metro area. Good evening, I'm Steve Savard.
I'm Jasmine Hoodle. Let's go straight to Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. He is tracking this round of storms.
Yeah, we had a tornado watch out to the west, including Phelps County and Rolla. It's been extended. So all of the St. Louis metro now in a tornado watch. That goes until 10 o'clock. So we have the team here in the Storm Center. Meteorologist Matt Chambers has been a huge help all day, kind of highlighting as the watch develops and then also looking for where the storms are going to flare up.
Critical part of the story right now, because these storms that have already formed, Steve, are moving into a part of the atmosphere that is very, very unstable. Let me show you what we see on the radar and what they're moving into. This has developed into a fairly solid line of some strong thunderstorms. Steve's going to have the latest track on some of the stronger storms edging in from the west in just a moment. Bear in mind, where the air is most unstable is right out ahead of these storms, which means as they continue their push to the south and east, and Steve and I have been watching this even since the 5 o'clock newscast, we've noticed a little bit of a lurch downward on your screen, off to the south and east, which means they're getting closer to Metro St. Louis. The air around here, Metro St. Louis included, is very unstable. The possibility of some damaging wind, some large hail, and perhaps even isolated tornadoes, right, Steve?
Yeah, and we need to track this line off to the northwest. Notice all the lightning out here just exploding. This is the area that Matt was talking about. It's rather unstable. And I'm hearing that we just got a severe thunderstorm warning in, too. This is the line. Is that the line, Matt, right out there? It's that section?
That's the one.
That's the section. It's a severe thunderstorm warning along this section of, and that's going to track right along 70 into Montgomery County, Warren County, and Lincoln County. It's going at about 50 miles per hour. Matt's got the speed on it and showing us some of the cities in the path of that storm. So while there's a couple cells out ahead of it, this is the line that can produce some damaging wind and some hail as well as that moves on through. So gives you an idea of some of the cities in the path of that storm, including Jonesburg in about 23 minutes. All right, Matt, let's clear that because I just noticed Jonesburg, and we got a lot of reports from northern Warren County and around Troy of this cell, which is totally weakened. Didn't look like it was going to produce a tornado at all, but it has been producing some very interesting clouds that are rotating, and we got a lot of calls on that section of the storm. Does not look strong on radar at all. In fact, we have a chaser out there on this storm cell right now. You can see what the clouds look like. Low-hanging, dark clouds. At times you get a little low-hanging, even twisting or rotating cloud aloft, but it is just not strong enough to produce a tornado. That thing is weakening too as it moves to the northeast and to the more stable air. So just wanted to let you know because we got a lot of calls from Lincoln County, around Troy, northern Warren County. That storm cell weakening and moving out, but of course That storm is the one that is the severe thunderstorm tracking across 70, and eventually it'll be north of 70. Notice these storms too developing. The outflow or cool rush of air from these storms are creating new storms. As those new storms develop, the cool rush of air out of those storms is going to go to the south and create new storms, and it is all going to start to blossom into a cluster of storms marching east towards St. Louis, and we're going to be dealing with a busy night with severe weather, hail, wind, and some isolated tornadoes, on top of the fact that heavy rain is going to come out of some of these storms. There is a flash flood watch that goes until tomorrow morning. It's going to be a busy night. We'll track the latest and any warnings that pop up throughout the newscast and talk about the slight severe risk yet again for tomorrow coming up in my forecast.
They haven't been ignored. We've reported their stories. Breaking news, the 9-year-old shot while he was driving around with his father has died. 3 children neglected, killed, reduced to cold numbers. But their lives are more than that.
This is my baby. My baby is 11 years old. I want to see him again.
Were their fates predetermined by circumstance, society? Each of our victims tonight touched me personally. They are a symbol of promised loss, families left behind, open investigations, and collectively our very own failure.
Crime isn't something that you police your way out of.
Tonight, a call to action and frank talk. This is not a quick fix. It's a commitment to doing more, working together. We absolutely can prevent more tragedies. The answers are right here in our community, but real solutions won't exist until we get realistic. Tonight, the conversation starts. Tough questions are asked, saving our children right now. Good evening, I'm Sharon Reed. Tonight, 3 cases connected in tragedy. First, an 11-year-old boy lost to his family, shot down by accident by a 6-year-old friend. A 9-year-old out driving with his father at 3:30 in the morning, shot and killed. He didn't even make it to the 4th grade. And on a hot summer day, a drunken father cost a toddler his life. It's where we begin tonight.
Everybody gets so busy, but I can't imagine that it's not just a horrific accident.
But in the case of toddler Nathan Hubert, it was not a hectic schedule.
The mother returned home to the home and discovered that their child, the baby boy, was inside of the family car.
Investigators say Wayne Hubert planned to take his 4-year-old daughter and 23-month-old son to the park.
The father put the child in the car approximately 2.5 hours earlier and got sidetracked or distracted and forgot about the child.
Distracted by drinking, he was found passed out on the floor. His daughter unattended in the house and son in a car seat with only one window slightly open, no air conditioning, and temperatures hitting 91 degrees. Wayne Hubert now faces a charge of involuntary manslaughter and 2 counts of child endangerment. Make no mistake, it is a tragic tale. But don't think only drunk parents can lead to the unimaginable incident. In the past 15 years, close to 600 children have died after being found left inside sweltering cars. That's 40 innocent victims a year, youngsters left lifeless, killed by climbing temperatures. Their deaths cannot be blamed on race or gender, rich or poor. According to our research, these horrible deaths can strike any family. But that does not mean the cases are without controversy. Think back to 2007. 2 cases of children left in cars during the heat of August, but very different initial responses from law enforcement. First, 2-year-old Ricky Dixon left in the Happy-Go-Lucky Child Care Center van during a field trip to the Science Center. Ricky was found, taken to the hospital, and sent home the same day. 25-year-old Dalia Payne was then charged with second-degree child endangerment. Then, just 2 weeks later, 7-month-old Sophia Knutson died after being left in her parents' car in a Washington University Medical Center parking lot. Security cameras captured the critical, harried moments when the couple lost track of who had the child. Sophia's parents traded cars, and her father did not know she was in the back seat. 3 hours later, a woman comes rushing into the building after spotting little Sophia. There's a commotion as others rush to the parking lot. One window of the Toyota is broken, but it's too late. Police estimate the temperature inside the car reached at least 119 degrees. After watching the video, Circuit Attorney Jennifer Joyce decided not to criminally charge Sophia's parents.
If I had sufficient evidence, I would charge them. But that's not the case.
I think that's absolutely, positively unfair and is reflective of racial bias.
That caused an uproar from Delia Payne's attorney.
In the Knutson's case, I believe they feel like they had some people of a higher socioeconomic status involved, and they were going to show discretion and confidentiality.
It's not whether they're white, it's not whether they're black. It's what is the law, and is there evidence that the law was broken.
But after the public outcry, all charges were dropped against Payne. Many argue that no matter the case, there is just no way to punish a parent or caregiver more than they are already torturing themselves, twisted by guilt.
I just pulled in at the store, and I've got to grab just a few things, then I'll be home.
Wednesday is Heat Stroke Prevention Day, and just in time to try and stop any more of these deaths, this PSA was released showing how quickly a forgotten child can succumb to rising temperatures. A mother goes into the store, mind on other things, as her son is left in the heat. In just 15 short minutes, children can suffer life-threatening injuries. Remember, these are actors, but it shows what to do if you spot a child left in a car. Call 911 and cool the child off as fast as possible.
It's tragically happened to people in all different walks of life, I think.
Cardinal Glennon Emergency Room Dr. Steve Laffey has seen these cases way too much.
Well, the temperature goes up very quickly once the car doors are closed. And what's impressive is the outside temperature doesn't have to be that high.
Even on cooler days with doors and windows closed, temperatures can reach up to 120 inside a car.
About half of the cases are cases where a child's just been accidentally left or forgotten in a car. People are busy and distracted.
Unfortunately, cases of kids left in hot cars have risen with the introduction of rear-facing child seats. While they better protect infants from crashes, it's easier to forget about a sleeping baby.
Suggestions that have been made: put something back in the back seat next to the car seat. Put your purse or your wallet or something that's important that you won't forget, so that you have to go back to the back seat before you leave.
Or place a stuffed animal in the car seat. Then when the child is in the seat, move the animal up front with you as a reminder. But older children simply having fun have also lost their lives to heat.
About 30% of the cases are cases where kids are playing in unlocked cars. We need to stress to them that they're not toys and they're not playgrounds, and that it's not a place that they should be playing, and we need to keep our cars locked.
If your child goes missing, check the car first before running to neighbors' houses. They could be trapped inside.
You really think door-to-door could be the key?
That's the only way to solve it.
The keys to saving a community from crime.
It's a feeling where it burns in the inside of your soul, where you just can't keep your head up. You can't stop crying.
Hands down, this is one of the biggest ripoffs I've ever encountered. Hardworking people scrimped and saved their entire lives to save for retirement. Now their money is gone, more than $1 million, and the guy responsible doesn't seem to have a care in the world. How are you, Mr. Terry? Hi, Chris Nagus from Channel 4. How are you today?
Oh, it's fine.
Glad things are going well for Tom Terry. Some of his former customers aren't doing so well. How many of you were victims of Tom Terry? Everybody here. And these are just a few of the people who got bamboozled by the man who's been nicknamed Little Bernie.
I think that the law of the land needs to be applied and wake this guy up and rattle him and treat him like Madoff, because he made off with our money.
All of these people invested money in FIC, the Farmington Investment Corporation, formerly owned by Tom Terry. Flyers like this one advertised the rate of return. Customers could demand their money at any time, but when they did, it was gone. Barb, how much are you out?
I'm out $25,000 plus.
Rhonda, how much money are you out?
$20,000.
In excess of $319,000.
The victims range from widows like Joanna Barton, who invested her deceased husband's life insurance money.
There is no explanation. The only thing he says is there is no money. I have no money for you.
To World War II veterans like John Huff, who's out more than 30 grand.
I was an old house painter all my life. Money came hard. You know, it's a lot of money to a house painter. So all I want is my money.
A battle for repayment and justice has been going on for years. In 2010, the Missouri Secretary of State ordered Terry and his company to cease and desist illegal conduct, stating Terry never provided investors with information about FIC's financial situation. In a deposition, Terry stated never at one point would there have been enough money on hand if everybody wanted their money. So where did the money go? In 2004, Terry started borrowing money from FIC to start 6 other businesses. According to the Secretary of State's petition, those businesses were funded by FIC. Hundreds of thousands in loans weren't paid back. But crafty Terry created a plan to outslick these country folk.
He told me he was going to file bankruptcy. He told me that if I sued him, he'd sue me.
Terry made good on the promise, at least the first part, to file bankruptcy, and had the audacity to list all of these people as creditors, even an organization called Kids for Christ that invested with FIC to support summer camp programs. So what's Terry doing these days? He's still running FIC, but now the I stands for insurance. Mr. Terry, how are you? I caught up with him after lunch.
Are you planning to repay these people back?
Pay who back?
What? Pay who back? Are you kidding?
Pay back the customers that invested with FIC? It says here, according to the Secretary of State, you owe some $1.1 million to some 42 investors.
No, you'll have to talk to my attorney.
I mean, but any plans to pay any of these folks back?
Pardon me?
Any plans to pay any of these folks back?
That's a corporation.
The corporation, but you ran the corporation, correct?
No, I sold it.
He sure did. He sold it for a whopping $2,000. And according to his deposition, he's not even sure if the new owner paid the full amount.
Which shows it was virtually worthless. I mean, can you tell us what you're planning to do to make this right? Mr. Terry, can we please talk to you?
Nope. But don't worry about Terry. So far, he's avoided prosecution. He and his wife still collect a government check, close to $2 grand a month in disability payments, along with income from rental property. Not only is he hoping to avoid paying all of these people back, he's even asking the court to wipe out his credit card debt. According to the Secretary of State, Terry never had a license to sell securities in the state of Missouri. So what do lawmakers have to say about this? I asked Linda Black, who represents the Farmington area.
Should this guy be prosecuted?
Absolutely, he should be prosecuted. You know, there's just a historical record of all the investments that he has lost.
Tomorrow morning at 6:45, we hear more from Black about this debacle. We'll also talk about why one prosecutor's quest for charges were denied. Chris Negus, News 4. Victims say the name fits because their nest eggs disappeared in what looks like a Ponzi scheme. When we confronted Tom Terry, he was still in business. Tonight, we learn he's facing multiple felonies.
How many of you were victims of Tom Terry? Everybody here.
All of these people invested money in FIC, the Farmington Investment Corporation, formerly owned by this guy, Tom Terry.
Are you planning to repay these people back?
Pay who back?
That really angered the victims. According to the Secretary of State, some 42 investors lost more than $1 million. Terry told investigators he used money from the company to start other businesses, and never at one point would there be enough money to pay everyone back. Investors thought their money was safe and making good returns.
Barb, how much are you out?
I'm out $25,000 plus.
Rhonda, how much money are you out?
$20,000.
In excess of $319,000.
After our first investigation aired, the victims told me they met with the Missouri Department of Aging. A short time later, 5 felony charges were filed in St. Francis County, charging Terry with financial exploitation of the elderly. Terry was adamant he owed no one when I confronted him.
It says here, according to the Secretary of State, you owe some $1.1 million to some 42 investors.
No, you'll have to talk to my attorney.
I mean, but any plans to pay any of these folks back?
Pardon me?
Any plans to pay any of these folks back?
That's a corporation.
The corporation, but you ran the corporation, correct?
No, I sold it.
And can you tell us what you're planning to do to make this right?
Chris Negus, News 4.
News 4. watching out for you.
The economy on everyone's mind today.
I'm Steve Savard in Warrensburg, Missouri, where the president lays out his economic plans for the country.
Unemployment numbers are down, but a lot of you are still struggling to find work. Why some are being left behind in this recovery.
How well is St. Louis recovering? And what does it mean for you? News 4, watching out for your money tonight.
A child in critical condition after being struck while riding her bike in Jefferson County. The latest on the investigation.
The economy front and center once again as President Obama gives speeches in Illinois and Missouri on the subject. I'm live here at Express Scripts. It is the country's largest pharmaceutical provider. It is a Fortune 100 company, and it's one of St. Louis's largest employers here. We're going to talk more about the local economy, the impact here. But first, as we said, President Obama delivering powerful and somewhat lengthy speeches, too. 1 hour, 6 minutes already today in Galesburg, Illinois. The president slated for Warrensburg, Missouri next. Our Steve Savard is right there. And Steve, tell us about the mood as they await the president.
Well, Sharon, the mood here is one of anticipation because we've been here for 3 hours. Many of the students here at the University of Central Missouri have been on hand for longer than that. We were told the president was going to start speaking shortly after 4, then it was pushed back to 4:30. We're just after 5. We anticipate the president speaking shortly here. We know he's going to focus on the economy, and we imagine that some of his remarks will mirror those that he made at Knox College in Galesburg earlier today. And as we know, the president believes that you can grow the economy from the middle class out. We're told.
All right, let me tell you this. The president's speeches, we'll get back to Steve Savard and the president's speech there in Missouri. But the president's speeches come as a new Wall Street Journal poll puts his approval rating at 45%. The number of Americans who disapprove of Congress, that's at an all-time low, 83%. So a huge number there, a disapproval number. President Obama making a renewed effort to engage the public with his stops in Missouri and Illinois. He returned to Knox College in Galesburg, Illinois, as we said, after first speaking there in 2005. The president says, since then, we fought back from the Great Recession, and many things are better, but they are not good enough for the middle class.
We got more than 100,000 bridges that are old enough to qualify for Medicare. If you think education is expensive, wait until you see how much ignorance costs in the 21st century.
Now, the president also says no one who works full-time, no one should live in poverty. He is promising a raise in the minimum wage. Now, unemployment is on its way down, and there are many bright spots in the local economy, but not everyone is finding a job. Many of you know that. Russell Kinsall joins us now. Russell, you've been looking at who has been left behind and why they cannot get a job. What are they finding out there?
The numbers really tell the story. The areas of the local economy where we've seen the biggest job losses are the areas where you find the most people who are looking and still struggling to find work. So in the St. Louis area, the construction industry, that was number 1. They saw a 20% job loss since 2007. The drop in jobs in manufacturing has been 18%. But there's another number holding many back from finding work, and that number is their age.
I went from like 90,000 down to minimum wage in a 3 year span.
Roger Jennings spent 35 years working with computers, most as an IT expert, until his employer sent the IT jobs overseas. And now at age 59, he can't find a job.
I'm finding because of my age is a real battle because I've offered to take less money for an IT job, but employers say, oh, you won't be happy, so what am I to say?
Roger says without a job, he's headed to bankruptcy and will lose his house.
Yeah, I don't care if it's 50,000, 60,000. You know what? 30,000. I would work if somebody would give me the chance.
Joe checks online for job openings every day, but her 25 years experience as a paralegal doesn't seem to have any value with potential employers.
I have been looking for a job since May of 12. And I think out of that, I've had maybe 6 interviews out of several hundred resumes that I've sent out.
Joe has had to move into an apartment since losing her job in a law firm's downsizing move. She picks up hints from potential new employers that the only thing holding her back is her age, 58.
I even had one person interviewing me say, well, at your age, how many years do you think you're going to want to work before you retire? And I said, at my age, I can't afford to retire.
I've been talking to economists to find out who's having the hardest time finding a job, men or women, whites or African Americans. Sharon, coming up all new at 6, are going to break down the numbers, and some of the findings will really surprise some folks. That's coming up all new at 6.
All right, Russell, we'll check back with you at 6 o'clock. In the meantime, it's been about 6 weeks since News 4 told you that the city of St. Louis, the leaders, and the county leaders, St. Louis County leaders, were going to be kicking off a major undertaking, working together to try to kickstart this economy locally. They're working together to raise $100 million over the next 5 years to help high-tech startup companies in the St. Louis region. The goal, make St. Louis Silicon Valley East. That sounds like a lofty goal. Now, we asked the experts at the East-West Gateway Council if there's been any significant increase in tech jobs here the last few years.
In the two clusters that did gain, that's the engineering and that's the computer math and the sciences. We've seen more than 8% increases just over the last 3 or 4 years, so that strikes me as fairly substantial.
Now, technology and IT jobs, they're not the only things that are growing here in the St. Louis area. Coming up at 5:13, we're going to talk pharmaceuticals and those jobs with the industry there. Here at Express Scripts, they're growing too. Now, again, let's take a live look for you as the president prepares to speak at the University of Central Missouri in Warrensburg. We'll have much more in his message there coming up at 5:12. For now, let's go back to Jasmine in the studio for a look at today's other headlines. Jasmine?
All right, Sharon, thanks. Good evening, everyone. The Missouri Highway Patrol is investigating what led up to a vehicle striking a child in Jefferson County. This happened in the 4000 block of West Creek Road. This is near Imperial. We are told a 12-year-old girl was riding her bicycle when she was hit by a car. The girl was taken to the hospital with serious injuries. Well, you've heard the arguments about red light cameras. They are Big Brother. They're a money grab. Brentwood's red light cameras have been out of service since April, but now they may bring them back and add even more intersections. Ray Preston, you spoke with Brentwood leaders. The big question here, is this a money grab?
Good question there. You know, this past spring, though, Brentwood let its contract with American Traffic Solutions expire. Now, that's the company that sets up these red light cameras and takes a percentage of the fines that are paid, usually about a third. The camera here at Brentwood and Rose has already been removed, but it could be coming back along with cameras at perhaps 3 or 4 other intersections.
And this is a serious violation. This is not going above the speed limit. This is running through a red light with other vehicles approaching.
Alderman Thomas Kramer is sold on the idea of red light cameras, although many drivers are totally opposed. Red light cameras had been in Brentwood for about 7 years. One of their cameras caught this accident last February when a Missouri American water worker was hit while working in the road. Kramer says the city let the contract expire because there were several different members on the board of aldermen when the program was first set up, and the current board wasn't necessarily sold on the idea. At least one other alderman we talked with was strongly opposed. But now the city is rethinking its position and may bring back the cameras.
What do you say to the people who say this is just a money grab by a city or municipality that has these in place?
Well, you know, I kind of think it's laughable.
A News 4 investigation last fall found that while some municipalities do rake in hundreds of thousands of dollars from red light cameras, Brentwood has only made about $30,000 while the cameras have been in place.
We haven't seen any real financial boom from this at all. Matter of fact, it's been a whole lot less than we thought it would be, which is fine because that's not really the reason why we did it.
Now, supporters say the cameras help cut down on accidents in the intersections. Well, mixed results on that, at least as far as Brentwood is concerned. The city says in 2002 there were 10 accidents here. In 2012 there were 12 accidents, so not much of a difference there. But at Manchester and Brentwood, about a mile from where we are, there were 28 accidents in 2002, and last year there were only 17. Reporting live in Brentwood, Ray Preston, News 4.
Well, they found a bag of money on I-64, but police are still trying to locate the suspect who robbed a credit union in South St. Louis County. We have the surveillance photos from the First Missouri Credit Union on Lee May Ferry Road. Police say at about 10 this morning, a white male in his 30s with a goatee fled the credit union in a yellow Chevrolet. A couple hours later, St. Louis County Police spotted the money on westbound I-64. This was just before the Clayton Road exit. The man was seen driving a yellow Chevrolet. Anyone with information should contact St. Louis County Police or Crime Stoppers. News 4 tracking a crime trend in St. Charles County. Police in St. Charles say that burglars are targeting homes with open garage doors. It's an easy target, and those homes have often been unlocked or they've had back doors unlocked. Police say the thieves are going in those doors and they are stealing items from inside the homes.
The ones that we're kind of concerned about, obviously, is if someone's at home sleeping at night and they leave their garage door open and someone enters the house where they get into the kitchen or whatever. That's what really concerns us, because that's kind of a brazen crime. And, you know, it doesn't take anything for all of a sudden someone to hear somebody in their house, wake up, and next thing you know, we have a confrontation between the suspect and the victim.
Police say they have beefed up patrols, but they do warn residents to make sure vehicles and back doors are locked.
News 4, watching out for you.
News 4 is all about getting action tonight.
I check out a tip about a stolen work van that held the livelihood of an 84-year-old handyman and find it. But were his valuable tools still inside?
Does Hyundai have a problem with accelerators that stick? My investigation into a St. Louis woman's wild ride catches the company's attention. And today, it hauled away her car.
A wannabe Wall Street big shot is called out by News 4 Investigates, accused of stealing from his most trusting and vulnerable clients to fuel his lavish lifestyle.
Good evening. If you're like us, you've been watching the snowfall all day and into tonight. That has our roads wet, and now temperatures are falling, and we're starting to hear about some ice on some roads. Missouri Highway Patrol told News 4 it has closed part of Highway 21 near Old Highway 21, that's near Barnhart, and part of Highway 61 near Wilson Road near Troy, Missouri. Those highways are too icy, especially on the overpasses. Sharon Reed is in the Forewarned Storm Center.
Well, Steve, alongside the Chief Meteorologist, Steve Templeton, you've been tracking the flurries, the temperatures all evening. What are you seeing right now?
Temperatures are the key, getting near and below freezing. And so that melted snow from earlier today starting to freeze over on especially untreated spots. So it's really going to depend on how well treated some of these roads are. Take a look at a snapshot of the temperatures across the area, and you'll see temperatures hitting 31, 32 degrees. That freezing line kind of cutting right through St. Louis here. So anywhere from around there to the north and west, you're dealing with temperatures at or below freezing. Now, there's not much in the way of snow left. We've been dealing with light snow off and on throughout the night, but those flurries have really tapered off. There still may be some flurries out there. We may get back into some spotty light snow overnight tomorrow morning, but I think the key overnight and for the morning commute is temperatures and the wet pavement. So look at the temperatures again, specifically zoomed into the metro area. There's Hillsboro, Barnhart, a couple areas where we've had some reports of some icing and slick conditions at 32. When it's at 32 or below, that's when you can start to get that freezing. Hey, I checked in with MoDOT too, and off their website, they're kind of highlighting some of the roads out here to the northwest. Highway 61, Highway 47 that goes from Troy to Warrenton to Marthasville. Notice those temperatures all around 31, 32. So I think we're in this transition zone right now where we're starting to see the wet pavement, particularly on roads that haven't been treated very well or even retreated, and they're going to start to ice over a little bit. So we need to watch that for the morning commute. When we wake up, flurries mainly, a spotty light snow, but I think the slick spots will be the big deal with temperatures at or below freezing at 31 degrees. And there's more snow and even flurries in the forecast. I've got some more details on that coming your way.
Steve, thanks. The Forewarned Storm Team will track the weather all night long. We will watch for any changes to the road conditions. We'll have that for you tomorrow on News 4 this morning from 4:30 to 7. New tonight, a weapon in school, the weapon a taser. The suspect, a teacher. The Rockwood School District says a substitute teacher brought a taser into a 5th grade classroom at Kerrs Mill Elementary. Principal says they removed the taser and the teacher this morning and brought in a new substitute teacher. Steve?
Sharon, News 4 gets action for a St. Louis man who had his livelihood stolen by thieves.
My heart, I think, went up through my throat. I believe it did. Oh, just thankful to get the truck back.
The 84-year-old handyman who had his van stolen got it back tonight. And it was News 4's Matt Cesny who found it. Matt, you got a tip, and it paid off.
Yeah, Steve, we were actually following up with Herman Petuso about all the support he's been receiving since this happened to him. And before we left, that tip came in about where his van might be. So as we drove through his neighborhood, we spotted the van parked there in the street. The stolen van was parked along the 1300 block of Graham, just a few blocks from Herman Bertuso's house. In fact, photographer Mike Alexander and I spotted the white work van as we drove along the street before sunset, the plates matching and Herman's large ladder still on top.
I'm so thankful for you. If it wasn't for you, Matt, I don't know what I'd do. I mean, you've been so helpful and all the way through on this.
St. Louis police, who only took the report of the stolen van over the phone, did check out the van. Unfortunately, many of Herman's tools were not inside. A carpenter by trade, Herman's livelihood was stolen from in front of his house Monday morning, just weeks after his wife died. Since our story first aired, people have left boxes of tools on the 84-year-old man's porch, and an internet fundraising effort at crowdtilt.com has now raised over $2,000 for Herman to buy new tools.
I think it's just great and grand, and there's no words to describe how it makes me feel. It just makes me feel real wonderful. That people can be so kind and understanding.
People making up for the thugs who made Herman a victim of crime. In Dogtown, Matt Cesny, News 4.
New tonight, a group of tourists visiting St. Louis fall victim to crime almost as soon as they got here. Thieves broke into the van belonging to a group of young men from Manitoba, Canada. The hoodlums took luggage, cash, and cell phones. The van was parked along Memorial Drive this afternoon as the tourists went to see the arch.
Yes, we just got here and we're just touring around here, and we found that there's a good place to stop and we can go and take a few pictures with the boys, and then we were going to go and find a hotel, but we weren't here for 5 minutes, and we looked and our vehicle was broken into.
A federal park ranger who saw the break-in chased after the thieves as they drove off, but he told News 4 he gave up the chase on the Eads Bridge when they started driving just too fast.
You'll probably be wondering how this happened. A man accused of exposing himself to an 11-year-old boy in a public restroom will only have to serve 120 days of house arrest and will not be put on the sex offender registry. Christopher Frank was charged with sexual misconduct for an incident in the bathroom of the Maplewood Home Depot, but he ended up pleading guilty to harassing the boy. Frank owns a marketing business, CFX. It's right next door to Marion Middle School for Girls in South St. Louis. So how did he avoid becoming a convicted sex offender? We reached out to county prosecutors today but didn't get a response. We'll stay on top of it until we get answers. New tonight, a fraternity at Washington University is suspended over claims some of its members used the N-word towards other students. The school suspended all activities for the Sigma Alpha Epsilon fraternity. The WashU Student Life newspaper reports some pledges started rapping at African-American students at the dining hall and then used the N-word. A News 4 report is getting the attention of Hyundai.
We told you how an SUV accelerated on its own and sent a St. Louis woman barreling down the highway at 90 miles an hour.
Nervous, scared, don't want to kill myself, don't want to hurt anybody out there on the streets or the highway.
Today, Hyundai towed away the vehicle the owner says is just too dangerous to drive. The car maker plans to put it through a thorough investigation. Russell Kinsel, you've been talking with the car owner and Hyundai. Is the car company admitting it? There's a problem with this vehicle.
Sharon, no, they're not, but they are sending in an engineer here through Lambert who will examine that vehicle and see what its little black box says about what happened. Is this the tip of the iceberg of acceleration problems with Hyundai vehicles? Well, that's a question I put to the company today.
And then I looked, I said it went past 55 and went to 60, it went to 65, and then it got to 70, 75, 80. I'm like, oh my God.
Sheila Price thought she'd died when her car suddenly sped to 90 on I-70. Her brakes wouldn't work. She finally got it into neutral and stopped. After our report, Hyundai contacted her, towed her car to a dealership, and promised to get to the bottom of what happened.
And I'm like, oh wow, that's awesome, that they're going to step up to the plate and do something about the situation, thanks to Channel 4.
Sheila's experience isn't unique. A police camera caught an out-of-control Hyundai doing 120 in North Texas until it crashed, injuring the 16-year-old driver. Hyundai says it wants to find out what happened, but doesn't think its vehicles have a problem with sudden acceleration, even though the government has investigated 10 incidents involving SUVs just like Price's.
These allegations are alarming. But because it's so unlikely that something could happen like this, we've got to figure out just what's going on.
We asked why the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration hasn't issued a recall, and it said the agency is aware of the potential issue, is monitoring complaints and other data closely, and will take appropriate action as necessary. We will stay on top of Hyundai's investigation and tell you what they find. Russell Kinsall, News 4.
Tonight, it's mystery solved. Police say they have the man responsible for killing the mother of a baby found abandoned in an apartment complex. Today, prosecutors charged DeAnthony Prouty with first-degree murder. They claim the 40-year-old shot Ebony Jackson in his apartment last month when she was getting ready to take a bath. They say he dumped her body in the trunk of her car. Police found it a few days later, just a few blocks from where Prouty lives in North St. Louis. The abandoned baby is doing fine and is back home in Oklahoma. Investigators aren't giving a possible motive.
Here is quite a list of violent crime charges against a man in St. Peters, choking one man until he passed out, choking another man, pushing a woman, and stealing her car. All charges against Brooks Hoy. Court documents show someone hit the 21-year-old over the head with a baseball bat just to get him to let go of one of the victims. Police say they caught Hoy after a short chase. A St. Charles woman did the right thing, reporting stolen goods she found on her property. That's unfortunate for her son. It landed him in jail, accused of having the goods from a burglary. Police say the mother of Stephen Mahler called a burglary victim after finding the victim's credit card in the front yard. Mahler's mom then gave police permission to search their home. Investigators say they found other stolen items, including the victim's rosary.
How much influence did a school board president have in securing millions of dollars in projects for a construction company he works for? A state audit revealed he crossed the line and cost taxpayers in the Rockwood School District more than $1 million. I went to Lafayette High School tonight where State Auditor Tom Schweik put the board on notice.
It just makes me sick. We aren't joyous. This isn't a joyful day. This makes me sick.
Eileen Tyrell founded the watchdog group that urged the state to audit Rockwood. Her concerns were well-founded. Former school board president Steve Smith was also the project manager for Glenn Construction, which has been awarded more than $11 million in bond-related projects. Do you think this could have been avoided? This should have been avoided? We shouldn't be in this situation?
I think many of the practices have been going on a long time, a lot longer than many of the board members have been around. And so the key is that we learn from it and move on.
And parents in this district can be assured that money will be better spent in the future.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
The school board president just told me we absolutely will be in compliance. We'll do things differently. How confident are you that that'll be the case?
Thank God for Tom Schweik, because guess what? The district doesn't have our trust and they have to earn it back.
The audit found no criminal violations. Schweik's office will follow up in 90 days to make sure the district is in compliance with its recommendations. We'll follow up to see if the district has been able to recoup any of the $1.2 million overpaid to the management company.
News 4 never stops watching out for you, uncovering scams and ripoffs, questioning wasteful spending, getting the answers you need. Now, Chris Nagus and News 4 investigates.
An investor taking advantage of the most vulnerable to fund a lavish lifestyle, a home in Ladue, a BMW, and a second home in Boston. A one-time Clayton power broker now accused of major fraud, in one case stealing $1 million from a woman with dementia. Property records indicate this Ladue home is owned by Gregory Campbell. By all accounts, he's a successful guy. But the Missouri Secretary of State spells out years of deceit masterminded by Campbell.
It's very possible that this could end up with criminal charges.
Jason Kander's Securities Division lays out an incredible story. Campbell is accused of opening accounts for clients without authorization, forging signatures, and making unauthorized transfers in excess of $1.5 million to fund his lifestyle. Kander says Campbell tried to cover his tracks.
Yeah, what it appears he was doing was he would change the address that a statement would go to so that the statements would no longer go to the client.
According to the petition, Campbell diverted more than $1 million from one client, an 86-year-old woman with dementia living in an assisted living facility. When I showed up at Campbell's Ladue home, nobody answered. But I noticed a permit hanging in the window to build an addition. Kander's office also accuses Campbell of diverting client funds to pay for a BMW lease along with another home in Boston. So how did he get busted? How did your security division even find out about this?
In this case, actually, we found out because the firm where Mr. Campbell was working reported it to us.
Campbell worked for Merrill Lynch in Clayton. He resigned that job in 2011 and got hired by a firm affiliated with LPL Financial in Creve Coeur. In a press release, Campbell said it is his role to be the CFO for each of his clients in their pursuit towards achieving their financial goals. Doesn't look like that worked out too well. LPL won't comment on anyone formally affiliated with the firm. Merrill Lynch says it's cooperating with law enforcement and will continue to do so. Bottom line, you can check out your broker to find out if he's accused of any wrongdoing. I've got a link on KMOV.com where you can enter your broker's name to see what he's been up to. This is a story we'll continue to track. Our attempts to reach Campbell at his home were unsuccessful, but if he wants to give his side of the story, we'll provide him equal time. Chris Nagus, News 4.
Get Chris Nagus to work for you. Being ripped off? Do you see tax money being wasted? Email him at cnagus@kmov.com.
A family is fighting a school district in court over what they call discrimination against their transgender 6-year-old.
The child was born a boy but has been living as a little girl for several years.
When she was about 18 months and started to talk, as soon as she was able to, it was that she was a girl. She liked girl things.
All was reportedly fine until Coy Mathis went to first grade at Eagleside Elementary in Colorado. In the middle of the school year, the parents got a letter from the district informing them some parents and students are likely to become uncomfortable with Coy's continued use of the girls' bathroom.
We're hoping that, that they will change their minds and they will come back and teach that you can love somebody and you can accept somebody even if they are different.
The district also raised concerns over whether bullying might take place.
New tonight, our cameras caught strong reactions from students over a plan to close more schools in St. Louis.
To shut down a school that's successful is like shutting down a business because it has overstock. I believe that it's wrong.
Superintendent Dr. Kelvin Adams laid out his proposal to the St. Louis Public School Board. Dr. Adams recommends moving the Multiple Pathways Alternative Program to Beaumont High School while eliminating 11th grade in that building. Sherman Elementary, Louverture Middle School, and Fresh Start South are on the chopping block this fall. St. Louis schools may also phase out the Cleveland N.J. Rotze School by not accepting new freshmen this fall.
My sister, she already has been accepted, and for me to have that experience and to know, okay, this is really good, like this is up to par, and she won't be able to experience that, and it's really hard.
My confusion is why are they going to shut down something that has been successful for the past years?
The board is expected to vote March 14th on the closings. There are public hearings set up for students and parents to voice their opinions on March 2nd. We have those details on our website, KMOV.com. Tomorrow will be the last day as the leader of the Roman Catholic Church for Pope Benedict XVI. Today, the pontiff gave an emotional farewell in what's expected to be his last public appearance ever. The 85-year-old is the first pope to resign in more than 600 years. So who will be the next pope? We're sending Chris Nagus to Rome for the conclave to choose Benedict's successor. Watch for his reports on News 4 and on KMOV.com.
The Forewarned Storm Team. Certified St. Louis's most accurate forecast. Now here's Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Wet roads, falling temperatures, not a good mix. We're already hearing about some problems on the roadways tonight in places like Lincoln County.
Yeah, I mean, we got through the evening drive, but now we see all that dampness starting to ice over in spots, especially untreated spots. And like you said, Lincoln County is one of the bad ones out there. Now, here's the deal. A lot of the flurries and light snow has kind of tapered off. Take a look at the Sky Tracker Doppler radar, and you'll see that that big low pressure off to the northeast keeps spinning in these little bouts of moisture out of the northwest. And lately, it's calmed down. So mainly a couple flurries out there, not much else than that. You see a little bit of the gray here or there, which is just flurries. If we had some brighter whites, that would be a little snow shower. Wouldn't rule out an isolated snow shower, but I think through the overnight, most of this is going to be flurries. But the damage has been done because of the snow from earlier and the above freezing temperatures. It all melted, the pavement's damp. It still is, and now we're hitting freezing in Clayton at 32. It's 31 in New Haven, 31 in Warrenton. I mentioned earlier Highway 47 from Lincoln County to Warren County, Highway 61. So that area is being highlighted by MoDOT as partially covered with some icy spots. And temperatures, even if they're at 32 now, they drop another degree. You get into more likelihood of some icing, mainly on untreated spots. But at midnight, I have us at 31, 5 a.m. 31, 8 a.m. 32. So watch for those slick spots. And again, while it is mainly untreated spots, there's no guarantee that a major highway has been treated. So you'd certainly want to treat that carefully as you head out in the morning. We're going to be here tomorrow for you on News 4 this morning. Meteorologist Kent Earhart and our traffic guru, Roger Brand. They'll let you know exactly where those slick spots are developing. Mainly flurries, a spotty light snow. I'll tell you what, if you park outside, you may want to bring a brush out because your car may have just a little dusting on it tomorrow morning when you head out. This cold flow coming in out of the northwest is because of that low. As the low pulls out, we still get this northwestern flow, and that keeps us pretty much in the same type of weather. Cold, occasional flurries, and light snow. I don't expect as much snow as what we saw today, but still at times you get some flurries or a little burst of snow to move through, and that's what we'll be dealing with yet again for tomorrow. Winter is in full control here as it's going to be a cold one again. 35 degrees at noon. Breezy on top of it, wind chill down into the upper 20s. We're at 36 degrees by 5 o'clock. The high tomorrow 38, so it's another day in the 30s with cloudy skies and a little bit of wind, and at times those flurries and light snow. Even at 9 o'clock, 33 degrees, though, above freezing. If we see any of those flurries or light snow actually collect and create some accumulation, mainly on grassy spots, it would be in the morning or overnight because that's when temperatures are below freezing. During the daytime, they would hit that pavement and melt off, and like today, you end up with some wet roads. So we're going to watch those overnight hours, early morning hours. That's when you have the best shot for some ice conditions. So Friday, 36, flurries or light snow. We do it again on Friday, next 2 days. Now Saturday, just some morning flurries, but then dry in the afternoon, partly cloudy. Cold, 32 degrees though. And on Sunday, 36, it looks dry and partly cloudy. Like I said, winter in control. When all the high temperatures start with a 3, you know it's still winter, even though March is right around the corner. 38 degrees for the 4-degree guarantee for tomorrow for Heat Up St. Louis, the last day to add some money to our donation. We're at 800. Let's make that 850 and end on a high note for the month of February. Next couple days, flurries, spot snow showered. Highs are going to be pretty cold in the 30s, and boy, Saturday especially a chilly day as we get into the weekend. It does warm up Monday to 45. We do have a storm coming through Tuesday that could produce a chance of rain or a little bit of a mix as well, and we'll have to keep a close eye on that one for you. But I think my biggest concern right now is that damp pavement icing over on untreated spots, especially for tomorrow morning. So we'll have to watch that.
All right, and we will, the whole team.
Thanks,
Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Talk about testing a marriage. Wait until you hear an ambitious plan for a private flight to send a couple to orbit Mars.
Now, Sharon Reed, Steve Savard, and Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. This is News 4 at 10.
Well, you know what? The economy is so bad, teachers resort to using their own money now, many as much as $500 a year. They're seeking donations at this point to fund school projects. Today, I spoke with a couple of teachers who've found those creative ways to overcome financial hurdles to make sure students do not suffer. They're now using websites like DonorsChoose.org. Websites like that one allow the teacher to sell a project in the hopes of average Joes like you and me that will buck up and help them out financially. These days, with everybody strapped for cash, teachers are turning to these alternative methods. Do you feel like this is the wave of the future? Does it solve a lot of the problems that we have now?
It really does. I mean, we spend a lot of our own money and we still will continue to do that, but this has really helped us get some things for the kids that I never thought was possible because I couldn't afford it, so it's really helpful.
It's picking up steam. Before this project, many of the books these children read were either torn, they had missing pages. When I asked the teachers, is it just too much that they are now salesmen too, they said, hey, part of the job now. Steve?
Well, are you willing to take a trip with your spouse? Before you answer, there are some conditions here. It'll take 16 months, and you'll be close, really close, sharing space half the size of an RV. The destination is Mars. Today, a private nonprofit project announced its plans for Inspiration Mars. The technical details are still in the works, but the group hopes to send a married couple to take a pass around Mars with a launch in 2018.
Cardinal pitcher Michael Wacha dominates the Mets and then gets high praise from Yadier Molina. And it doesn't seem to matter who the Billikens play, they are going down. Highlights from tonight's game at Shavitz coming up next in sports.
Now, News 4 Sports, powered by the Baseball STL app. Cardinals news, scores, and stats, free in your phone's app store.
Make it 10 in a row for the Billikens. St. Joseph's, the preseason favorite in the A-10. No match for the Billiken buzzsaw tonight. Nobody plays tougher defense than the Bills. Dwayne Evans is going to say, get that out of here. Big block by Evans. He had 3 blocks, 21 points, 12 rebounds. Jordair Jet, Steven Jackson in tennis shoes, drives to the lane, gets the bucket, and won. I'm not sure why there was a pig at the game. I just don't have that answer for you. Not sure what he was doing. Bills led by only 2 at the half. Broken open second half fast break. Quamaine Mitchell scores with the layup. Evans played like a man possessed. He would not be denied. Got the offensive board here. Scored against heavy pressure. Billikens continue to roll 70-53. They improved to 22-5, 11-2 in the A10. The Blues have put Andy McDonald on injured reserve. He hurt his knee yesterday in practice. He is listed as week to week. Adam Cracknell has been called up from Peoria. Cardinals continue to tear the cover off the ball down in Florida. Scored 12 runs today against the Mets. Carlos Beltran drove home 2 with that double, almost caught out there. That was the key hit in a 4-run third inning. They scored 4 more in the fourth. Yadier Molina with a 2-run double into the corner and left. Cardinals had 14 hits. They've scored 37 runs now in the last 3 games. Shane Robinson had a double, a home run, 3 RBIs, and 4 runs scored. Michael Wacha dominant on the mound, pitched 3 shutout innings, allowed only 1 hit, struck out 5. Brian Feldman reports that Wacha impressed his all-star catcher with the way he was throwing today.
3 more shutout innings from first-round pick Michael Wacha and 5 total here in spring training. Yadier Molina is not one to make blunt statements, but he did not hold back regarding Wacha's future.
That guy right now can pitch in the big league, so that's the way I look at it. He got great stuff. He got a great person on the mound. I feel that guy can pitch right now in the big league.
That is quite a compliment, you know. I mean, I trust him behind the plate. You know, I don't really ever shake off whenever he's calling pitches back there. So, you know, I trust him, and you know, he's working good back there. You know, felt confident throwing anything I wanted at any count. So it's nice.
I'm sure that's a huge compliment for Michael to get from Yachty, and but my comment is that he's doing a nice job. When we give him the ball, he goes out there and he's been making good pitches.
Make sure you check out KMOV.com along with our Baseball STL app. I recently wrote about Matt Adams and what the Cardinals may have to do with him potentially being blocked by Alan Craig at first base. With the Cardinals, Brian Feldman, News 4 Sports.
Great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
Good night, everybody.